Hello and welcome to today's webinar from Americans for the Arts on arts and disability. I'm Heather Flanagan. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Artist Engagement and Accessibility Policy Manager at Americans for the Arts. I identify as a non-disabled mixed woman with caramel color skin, shoulder-length curly dark brown hair, and today I'm wearing a salmon color top. My background includes various guitars and musical items from my husband's collection. I am rooted in community in a rural part of Warrenton, Virginia, originally home to the Manahoac people. I come to this work as a disability justice advocate and a non-disabled half of a loving interabled marriage. I'm a retired dancer and current fiber and craft artist. Americans for the Arts is committed to accessibility, and this includes our speakers offering visual descriptions of themselves and any slides shared, which makes the webinar more accessible for audience members that are blind or have low vision. Additionally, there are Zoom-generated closed captions available today. You can access the closed captions by selecting the CC button in your Zoom toolbar. The webinar also includes live American Sign Language interpretation. Our opening slide features the title, date, and time of this webinar with a snip of our Arts Impact Explorer wheel with the Arts and Disability slice, the newest of the 30 topics emphasized. A photo in the center of the wheel shows two people facing away from the camera in a gallery, gazing upward in thoughtful contemplation at artworks displayed above their eye level. One participant leans slightly backward, utilizing a cane for support. Today, we will have the Q&A feature of Zoom available for you to ask your questions for our presenters. We will do our best to answer as many of your questions as we can. And this webinar is being recorded so that we can share it out more broadly soon. A couple of my colleagues will be sharing links with you in the chat throughout the webinar, which we will also email out to all registrants in a follow-up email. I'm so excited for us to jump into today's topic with artists and arts administrators who are living the deep work of supporting artists, creatives, and culture bearers who are deaf and disabled. This webinar ties together a few areas of work that we at Americans for the Arts are building on around our commitment to accessibility with peer-led accountability and our resources on local arts agencies supporting individual artists, creatives, and culture bearers, both of which you will find links for in the chat now. Programmatically this year, we've been doing work to ensure that our conference, AFTACON, which will be on June 11 through 14 in Cincinnati, Ohio, is our most accessible one yet, including a comprehensive access guide, individual touch points with folks who've requested accommodations, and I'm sure, as we'll talk about in today's conversation, financial access. As of last week, we're excited to share that AFTACON is now on a pay-what-you-can model in the hopes that we can support folks' opportunity to convene, collaborate, and build community, particularly during this dynamic political era that we are living through. Also, we have session topics that pertain to areas of disability and accessibility resources, like the Access Library, which we will also share a link for. And lastly, I want to mention that this year, our Johnson Fellowship for Artists Transforming Communities the process itself was inclusive of nominators, nominees, and selection panelists with a variety of experiences as being deaf or having a disability or disabilities. We are excited to have that announcement out very soon. And more broadly, to say that as an organization, we are planning and in some cases applying in real time how to transform our internal policies and practices, our advocacy agendas, external convenings, tools and resources, research and methodologies, media offerings and design, and just generally all of our planning processes to be increasingly inclusive and accessible. This, of course, includes continuing to develop authentic, collaborative, and synergistic relationships with deaf and disabled artists, disability-focused organizations, and folks working at the crossroads of arts and disability, which is truly one of my favorite parts of my job. And as well as bringing a cohort of staff and field folks to learn alongside us at the Leadership Exchange in Arts and Disability Conference, otherwise known as LEAD, which we will be going to in August. With that, I'd like to turn things over to our presenters for today, who will each introduce themselves and their work. They will explore the challenges and opportunities faced by deaf and disabled artists, creatives, and culture bearers in the creative sector, particularly around building effective support systems for working artists with an emphasis on practical strategies and innovative research. Kevin, take it away.
Hello. I am going to share screen in 1 second. And hi. So the screen right now says hi in big black letters with a pink shadow. And there's my name, Kevin Gotkin, and my email addresses, which I'll say now and also at the end, kevin@creativesrebuildny.org and kevin.gotkin@gmail.com. And here's the visual description of my video. I am a lightly scruffy white person in my mid-30s. My look is casual. There is a dark t-shirt and a very bright neon chain link necklace. My hair is short in the front and long in the back. I am coming to you from the unceded homelands of the Mohicannock, the peoples of the waters that are never still, so-called Hudson and Wye. And this slide that I've changed to says about me, and then in parentheses real quick, and it has text of what I just said, of where I'm located, and it has some links. So the link to this slide deck will be in the chat. So if you want to follow along that way, you can click through on these links, and I'll just read out what's here. So artist organizer at Creatives Rebuild New York, 2022 to June 2025. Founding editor at Crypt News, 2021 to now. Steward with Remote Access Nightlife Collective, 2017 to now. Organizer with Kinetic Light, 2021 to 2022. And then before that, it's some stuff that was academic. I used to be a visiting assistant professor at NYU from 2018 to 2021. I was co-founder of Disability Arts NYC from 2016 to 2019, and I got my PhD at Penn in 2018. Next slide has a photo of me and Kelly Clarkson. I was on the Kelly Clarkson Show, and text says January 9th, 2025, season 6, episode 65. And in this photo, I look like a professor of nightlife studies at Shiz University from Wicked. And Kelly Clarkson is wearing a yellow dress, and we're on the set of her daytime talk show. Um, Figured I would just put that in there since it is one of the most amazing and bizarre things that's ever happened to me. I was on her show talking about disability nightlife. Okay, today I'm going to talk about work I've done at Creatives Rebuild New York. So the slide that we're here on now is a lot of text, and the title says About Creatives Rebuild New York. And it says $125 million foundation funded COVID relief for artists and culture bearers in New York State and tribal nations through, and here there's two columns. One says guaranteed income, 2,400 participants, $1,000 a month, unrestricted cash for 18 months. The other column says artist employment, 300 participants, W-2 salaries, plus other support for 2 years. And then back to one column, plus research, narrative change, and advocacy. CRNY will sunset in June 2025. And you can find more about this organization at the website that's at the bottom of the slide, creativesrebuildny.org. There is a new slide with the covers of 3 reports. On the left, there's a cover of a report with warm shapes that are kind of fading. It looks like blotches of spray paint. Text says deaf and disabled artist employment, research on work from Creatives Rebuild New York. And there's a link that says research on work. In the middle is a report cover that has a bunch of dollar bills that are warping and changing shape and form. And text says CryptCoin, disability, public benefits, and guaranteed income. And a link says protecting public benefits. The last report is a kind of a portal. There on the cover, there's a border of kind of swirls of blue. And then through what looks almost like a door against plain white background, the title says Plain Language for Arts Organizations, a guide from Creatives Rebuild New York. And then there's a link that says Access for Understanding. So I'm going to talk about these 3 reports, but there's one more thing that I've worked on over the last few years that is available for you. And I don't think I need to say much because you can just follow the links to get it. And on a new slide, there is an image that looks like the kind of background of a drafting table like architects might use. And it's blue. And there's 2 words, access, access. One of the accesses is in dotted lines, and the other one is in a bold font with some arrows at various points suggesting movement of the letters. And the link here says recorded program series on accessibility. Now I'm going to talk about the Deaf and Disabled Artist Employment Report, and the cover of that report is here on the slide. And there's 3 main points, and I'm just going to read the text of these. So the report includes contexts of artist employment, the terms disability and artist, both defined by trickiness of work, interviews with deaf and disabled artists, a success, financial well-being, a challenge, inconsistent access design, and finally, recommendations, organize and build power with artists. So that's what's on the slide, and this is just some snippets, some things I've pulled to describe the contents, and you can find the full report through this link and on our website. The second report is called CRIPCoin, Disability, Public Benefits, and Guaranteed Income. And there's an image of the cover. And then here's what the text says. Contexts of no strings attached cash. Some can't afford to receive guaranteed income. How to protect public benefits. Public political education on safety net systems. And then the term CRIPCoin, radical hope plus technical expertise. So this report is about how to make sure that people don't lose things when you get them new income. And there's a movement for guaranteed income where I've been working on protecting public benefits, access, while distributing cash. All right, last report, and this one's actually a guide, Plain Language for Arts Organizations, a guide from Creatives Rebuild New York. And the link there says Access for Understanding. This report was written with Reed Kaplan and Isaiah Madison. And the text says, what is plain language? A way to make writing easier to understand. How to write in plain language. Check your reading level. How to organize a focus group. Plain language experts getting together. So this is a guide on getting started on using plain language. And it offers support on how to go from start to finish on creating a document. And what's the text from this slide just are just some snippets from the report. And I think I'm about at time. So I am going to pass it off. I'm just scrolling through a slide that had a lot of text, if we get to it later, about the moment that we're in. And this slide says, thank you. And it has my email addresses and a link to my newsletter. I am going to end there, and I am handing it over to Purple Fire Crow, Antoine Hunter.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Kevin. All right, I'm all set. That was such a nice presentation. Thank you, Kevin. My name is Antoine Hunter, Purple Fire Crow, and right now I am in Oakland, California. And really, it is the land of the Ohlone tribe. And my visual description would be dark milk chocolate skin, indigenous Blackfoot Cherokee, and African from my beautiful mother. And I have ebony, bushy beard going on. I have 2-foot locks that are growing, and I am wearing an orangish head covering with a pattern on it and a red t-shirt with a v-neck pattern with touches of blue, red, and gold. And I am so honored to be here. I'm using sign language, and it is American Sign Language that I'm using. And in my culture, we also have Black American Sign Language. So there's touches of both. But that is also part of my identity. I'm two spirited and I have other disabilities as well as my deafness. So a lot of intersectionality is going on here. And my career, my spiritual journey is also as a director of the Urban Dance Jazz Company. And it's also, we host the International, interpreters clarifying real quick, the Bay Area International Deaf Dance Festival. We host that, and I am the founder of it. So, with my business and the festival, it's taken me about 13 years to get to where I'm at. And I would say I've been dancing jazz for about 20 years now. And this practice has been going on for a lifetime. It's been a journey. So many barriers that I've broken down from being deaf, disabled, Black. And if you wonder how I do this as an artist, I can kind of give you an idea. It'll help you if you have any doubts on your English. There's so many resources out there, many ways that you can get your voice heard and your truth told and shared. So you don't have to be a professional dancer or be great at dancing. You don't have to. You just have to find a different way to be able to help people understand what your mission might be, what your mission is, what's your goal, what's your identity. And you can find a creative way to do that. One example would be to use an idea that I can show you. I have a film. Maybe you feel like you're stuck, you can't figure out how to share your mission to get people to understand. Maybe you can find some expressive way to show your identity, and that would work as well. Just checking on the sound quickly. Okay, no worries, we can watch. So that's one way. That's one example of being able to explain your experience, your journey, what you're moving towards, your mission. And as time goes on, I've gotten feedback from different people along the way on what they've learned from me. And they kind of take notes from that. They write that down, they take that, and they're able to. I was actually able to make different slides. One moment here. So it's come to a point where, say, if you put together a slide deck, like I have, people gain a better understanding. And thank you for your patience, y'all. Okay. So if people miss certain things, I've gotten feedback from that and I was able to put that into my slide deck. Maybe people don't understand my art practice, they don't understand my dance, and I'm able to explain in different ways. Also, another thing is the word deaf. We use capital D for deaf or small d for deaf. That's lowercase d is more of a medical sense or lens. And people, that was something people didn't understand before. And through my dance, I was able to educate and have people understand it more so. And also the term hearing impaired. That term, for various reasons, it's more so connected to that lowercase d deaf. And I was able to educate folks, that it's better to use the term hard of hearing rather than hearing impaired for those folks who do have some level of hearing left or experience that range of hearing loss. So just to be able to educate with that vocabulary. And a lot of people have learned new things about deaf culture that they may have not have realized in the past. Maybe they haven't come across deaf folks. So, how would they have access to that? And deaf folks are not a monolith as well. And at times, deaf folks maybe have not had the experience of really interacting with a lot of hearing people. So it's important that we do educate and have folks know and see that these things do come up and they show up in my artwork, they show up in my dance. And to also notice that there's a lack of accessibility still out there. Me as a deaf person, if everybody thinks it's all good and gravy in the art world for me, it's not always at times. I've learned a lot along the way. It's not easy. So you just have to continue to be creative and try to figure out what accessibility looks like for you. And I know most of you kind of remember that time, of course, where we were in lockdown 2020 during COVID and performances stopped, but I could not stop. I still wanted to educate folks. So I had to think outside of the box. And I took that risk. I risked my thoughts, my feelings here. And during that time, I went ahead and did different lives. I used Zoom. I used this platform. I just went for it. I went for it. I used ASL interpreters. I used international sign language interpreters. And I was able to have captions as well as audio descriptions. And another channel, we had spoken Spanish interpreters. Oh my goodness, you could not stop what we had to do. We were still moving. You could not stop us from telling our truth and what we had going on. And many people said, it couldn't be done. And I'm like, oh no, 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 I don't believe that. I had to go through that struggle and get it done and put something on. And we came up with this on August 14th through the 16th through 2020. That year, we had that Deaf and Hard of Hearing Festival. We did not stop, regardless of what was going on. And the whole world was watching online. They were. The art felt good. People were the audience was feeling good. So I felt connected in that moment. Just getting my tech together. All right, I see my interpreter again. Okay, so another position that I wanted to share that I feel is really important for me as an artist. I try to be sure that with the differences of the hearing world and the deaf world, we try to bridge that gap so no one is left out. Whether they're disabled, not disabled, we can still come together in a safe place as one. And this video doesn't have any audio. I want it to be more so of a visual experience of me getting on stage and performing. One moment. And you can see an interpreter on stage with me signing a song from the artist Bob Marley. And they're talking about how they don't want war in our community no longer. And then there's another man, myself, Antoine, dressed in a red garment, and I'm using movement. And the rhythm is a really heavy bass type of rhythm, almost like a heartbeat.
That one you can see there, you can understand that clearly. There's no trouble there. That's what we need to have in our community, need to work together. Uh, you know, find a creative way for us to listen to each other. As an artist, now all the places I've been, the journey I've been on, I understand um, that I've been doing a lot of this on my own, a lot of these festivals. And there's been a lot of denials. It's hard to partner up with you, but no matter what, I've just done it myself. I've proceeded. You know, even though if it's been it's been let down, there's a lot of times that people are not ready to listen. They just aren't, or they don't know how to listen. But I always tell them, just because you can hear, it does not mean that you know how to listen. And that's what I've learned about listening. That's what I wanted to share with my story. I wanted to express that to everybody. We all have different ways of expressing our education. You know, we have slides, we have film videos, different things that we go ahead and share. But all that feedback that we get is to help with the mission and the bridge within the community and to help really practice and develop that. So thank you so much for listening. So I give it over to the next group. Thank you.
Thank you, Purple
Yes,
Fire
Sydney.
Pro. That
Yes,
was
Sydney.
amazing. Thank you. I appreciate it. Wow, what an amazing panel. It's an honor to be here with everyone today. I am about to share my screen. Okay. So on the slide here, you will see Three Arts, which is the name of the organization that I am a part of. In the middle of a white slide, underneath that, it says my name, Sydney Maury Garrett. I am Director of Programs at Three Arts. Then underneath my name is Rebecca Torres, visual artist, who I will be speaking with today. And Rebecca will introduce herself in a bit, about a minute, actually. And then underneath that text is a red line with our Three Arts logo in the bottom corner. And a bit of a visual description of myself. I am a mixed race Black woman with really short curly hair. I have on some gold hoops, a white chore jacket, a green shirt, and a gold chain necklace. And then behind me, I'm sitting in my office slash dining room area. And so behind me is a yellow noodle looking lamp, a quilt, and a tufted mirror, and then some pet supplies on the other side of me here. And a quick land acknowledgement from us. We are on the ancestral lands of the Potawatomi people, a nation we recognize for being deeply involved in the continued growth of this city and this region. Oh, and my pronouns are she, her. I don't remember if I said that in the very beginning. All right, I've moved on to the next slide here. On this slide, you will see a photo. It's a group of about, I would say, 40 to 50 people celebrating at one of our past awards events. So people are cheering, clapping, and having a good time. So on this slide, I'm actually going to introduce 3 Arts quickly. 3 Arts is a nonprofit organization based in Chicago. We were founded in 1912, and we support artists working in the performing, teaching, and visual arts, including artists who are women, artists of color, and those that are deaf and disabled. And with that, I will pass it to Rebecca to introduce herself.
Thank you, Sydney. I am Rebecca Torres. My visual description, I am a brown woman with long brown hair. Today I'm wearing a black fleece and an olive V-neck t-shirt, rose-colored glasses, and I'm sitting in my office with a black table and black filing cabinet behind me. On the screen is a slide with my face again, so you get to see me twice. I have shorter hair in this image, and it's a black and white photo. And it reads, Rebecca Torres is an artist, filmmaker, and disability advocate. She is the founder and executive director of Backbones, an organization helping people with spinal cord injury and disabilities. In her creative practice, she explores disability ancestry, delving into how past generations of individuals with disabilities lived and worked, and the influence they have on contemporary disabled artists. So just to expand on that a little bit, I'm an artist, a filmmaker, and a person with a disability since the age of 13 from a spinal cord injury. And I use a wheelchair for mobility in my everyday life. I do split my time and my energy between my art and my disability projects, but often they do intersect. Actually, for the most part, they intersect because both those areas are a big part of my life, a big part of who I am and how I exist in the world. And some of my images include photo, painting, textiles, film, with the hopes that I'm able to reframe how others see disability.
Thank you, Rebecca. This is Sydney speaking. So I want to briefly talk about some of our awards programs. I think it's important to understand our programs because this is really foundational to how our organization functions. So we have 3 different types of awards. The first one being the 3 Arts Awards, which is when 10 artists receive $30,000 in unrestricted grants. We then have our Make a Wave Awards, which is when those 3 Arts awardees get to nominate an artist, and that artist receives a surprise $2,000 grant. And then we have the Next Level Awards, which are second higher unrestricted grants of $50,000 to past awardees, just recognizing that we believe in investing in artists more than once. And on this slide, there is a photo of 10 awardees from a past awards event. They're standing on the stage, they're spotlit, and they're receiving an applause. And with that, I'm going to pass it on back to Rebecca to talk a bit about her experience as an awardee. Yeah, Rebecca, take it away.
Yeah, this is Rebecca again. I have been very fortunate to be able to receive first the 3 Arts Award for $30,000 and then be able to nominate fellow artists and also receive the Next Level Award of $50,000. These were the biggest amounts of money that I had seen before. You know, this was the first time I've ever gotten a grant of this amount, and it was really amazing to be nominated and recognized by my peers, by my community, and recognized for everything that I was, celebrated for, the awards go to, women, people with disabilities, and people of color. And so it was just amazing to like be nominated and it made me feel valuable. It made me feel important, and that like I was a part of the community, which often I don't feel like that in many situations. And so it was also really important to me, and I thought was really great, was that the awards were unrestricted. And that was very liberating to feel like I had the autonomy to do what I wanted with these grants, but also felt that the organization trusted me and trusted the artists, that we were responsible to execute and to use the funds in any way that we needed and wanted. So those are really like positive things for me. It did come with some challenges for me though, because I am someone who uses government benefits for caregiving, for other things that I need for everyday living, right? Because of my disability. And so receiving these awards initially, I didn't really know what to do. And I didn't know if this was going to jeopardize my benefits, if it was going to jeopardize my life. And I was able to get connected to another artist, a past 3 Arts awardee, who had a similar experience, although our experiences were very different, but at least it was a place for me to start. I did end up having to seek the advice of a few attorneys to figure out what to do. I learned about ABLE accounts, about trusts, about using fiscal sponsorship, and different ways that I would be able to, not jeopardize what I had going on. And 3Arts was really flexible, and also working with me to make sure that I was able to receive the funds in a way that was beneficial for me rather than harming to me. And after that, I have received other funds from other organizations now, and it was a learning experience that I can share with other organizations and programs on ways of doing it and being prepared with supports for the artists.
Thanks for that, Rebecca. This is Sydney speaking again. So one of the ways we support artists who are deaf and disabled is also through our 3Arts and Bodies of Work residency. So Bodies of Work is a collaboration between 4 programs in Chicago who all share a commitment of disability artistry, academics, and activism. Bodies of Work are local residencies for artists who are deaf and disabled. And the reason why they're local is because we actually have another residency program. And in the past, we noticed that deaf and disabled artists in our network were not applying. And when we investigated why that might be, we learned that potentially travel to remote residencies could cut off access to crucial medical services or to potential personal assistance folks may need. Also, traditional residencies tend to operate on fixed schedules, and they don't really accommodate flexibility for any periodic or unpredictable care needs that folks might need. And then the list really goes on. So we created this customized program that really listens to the needs of each individual artist and provides time, compensation, and resources to focus on their work without travel and without isolation, right? So rather than a traditional residency program where isolation is kind of the attraction point, this residency program is about community and it's about connection. So with that, Rebecca, I'm going to pass it to you again so you can talk a bit about your experience in the program and about your project, which is actually the photo that is on the screen right now.
Yes, the photo on the screen is a recreation of the painting by Frida Kahlo, Dos Fridas. And it's part of my project that I did in collaboration with 2 other artists with disabilities. And we recreated 16 works of art that are pretty well known. Most people might recognize them, but we swapped out the subjects for people with disabilities. And so I created the costumes. Miriam, the person who is in this image with me, redid or redrew the backdrops digitally. And we also, our other collaborator took the photographs. So it was a really fun project. We have 16 images and we exhibited that in 2019. And then in a couple other places in the following years after that, it toured to a couple places. But this residency was really great for me because I was, in addition to having funds and time to work on this project, I was able to participate in a disability aesthetics class at the University of Illinois in Chicago and really learn about language and ideas that had to do with disability, culture, and art and aesthetics and things that I was experiencing or had experienced, but didn't really know how to put language or words to that. And so it really changed my journey as an artist because it helped me learn to talk about my work. And the residency also gave us opportunity to give public talks about our work. So that was also a way to give professional experience as an artist. And then last year I was able to be, excuse me, to be a mentor for one of the incoming fellows for this program. And that was really fulfilling for me because to be able to help guide an artist, but also like just watch them grow and be able to have these same opportunities. And I still look out for opportunities for the person who was my mentee. When I come across stuff, I make sure to send stuff to them and have been able to connect them with different projects as well. So I think it's helps build community and sort of giving back and creating networks within our community.
Thank you, Rebecca. This is Sydney speaking again. Moving on to the next slide here. So on this slide, you will see a photo of 3 people during a video conversation, which I'll talk about in a second. They are actually alumni of our Bodies of Work program. Rebecca Torres, who is here with us today, Bianca Eunice, and Stephanie Alma, and they're all smiling in the camera, again, during a video shoot, and one person is holding up 2 peace signs. So on this slide, I want to talk about our Disability Culture Leadership Initiative, which we also shorthand and say DCLI. So the Bodies of Work residents have an opportunity to participate in DCLI, which is an archive of video conversations and also a convening. So the video conversations capture the artist's reflections on their residencies and thoughts about deaf and disability aesthetics. And then the convening really fosters connection because, again, instead of building on isolation, we're building on connection. It fosters connection beyond the residency. And we really talk about a range of topics about disability aesthetics and the future direction of disability art and culture. So in the chat, there may be links to learn more about DCLI. We have a 2020 report that you can read about how this all came about, and also links to the video archive. I've moved on to the next slide here. I now want to talk about our 3 Arts Access, or what we also shorthand as 3AC program. On this slide, there is a photo of a group of people sitting around a large white table looking at a PowerPoint presentation. So our 3 Arts Access program is an annual workshop where anyone in our network can attend and learn about disability aesthetics and the basics of access services. They are then eligible to apply for a $200 micro grant that they can put towards their own projects by hiring, say, a sign language interpreter, cart captioning, or any other access services that they may need for their projects. So 3AC is a really great way that 3Arts supports and advocates for thoughtful and robust access culture in the arts. I've moved on to the next slide here. On this slide, there is a photo of Rebecca, and she's sitting outside on her motorized wheelchair on a really sunny day taking a photo. So everything we do at 3Arts is really not about highlighting the organization, it's about highlighting the artists that we work with. So Rebecca is actually going to close us out by talking a bit about how our support at 3Arts has reached beyond the organization itself.
Thanks, Sydney. Yeah, and like I said earlier, I feel very lucky to have had the opportunity to be a part of basically all the programs at 3Arts, really. And it's felt like a community, and I think that that's something that's very important to me. It's never felt transactional where it was like, oh, here's your money, bye, see you later. It's always been, I've been able to check in with people to update on what I'm doing, and then just community building and continuing support from the organization, not only in like art making, but also exhibiting my work. And there's a lot of power that comes from these awards as well, where I have felt that I can now call myself a quote unquote professional artist when, a lot of us, I think, often struggle with imposter syndrome. And so I think that having these opportunities, speaking opportunities as well, has led to other funding for my various art projects, for a film that I'm currently making about artists with disabilities, and networking and collaborating with other artists. So there's a lot that goes into, shaping and developing the development of an artist. And I think, it's not just funding, it's what other supports are out there that can really make us successful and prepare us for success rather than, like I said earlier, rather than impairing or hindering our work. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. This is Sydney speaking, and I think we can now pass it on to Heather.
Thank you. Thank you, all of our presenters. Oh my goodness. I didn't want to stop or slow down anyone because I wanted all the resources and all the information to be shared, but we don't even have time for questions. So I appreciate any questions that were put in the chat. Thank you for the responses. I wanted to uplift. Kevin put a resource from Creatives Rebuild New York on guaranteed income, and also there will be more coming soon. So just a reminder that we're going to share all of the links. I know there were many, and in a follow-up email, and maybe even more resources as they come. But I really just want to express gratitude and just general appreciation to you all. I guess if we want to just take just one tiny bite of a moment, I can't close the webinar without acknowledging the moment we're in, because I know, Kevin, you had a slide on it, and we're just existing in changing times. So if any of you want to offer anything, insights or thoughts briefly about sort of some of the public backslide that's happening around the understanding of disability as a continuum, and specific targets from government agencies and all that. Just anything that, I know it's a big question, and I'm sure we could stay here for another hour, but just offering space if there's anything you all want to mention.
This is Kevin. Sarah Schulman's new book on solidarity. I'll just say that. I think it just came out.
Fantastic. Thank you. Was that the mic drop? Is that all that needs to be said? Okay, beautiful. Oh, Sydney, go ahead.
I'll add, just sort of following up on that, I think like any other time, but especially right now, this is the time where we need to be connected, where we need to be in spaces like this, sharing resources and wisdom that we may have, and hopefully people will carry that onto their own communities, right? So spaces like this are really important. I do not let the fear get me down, and we're gonna keep doing the work no matter what, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Thank you. Rebecca, Purple Fire Crow, anything to add before I do the official closeout?
I think I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And yes, this is Purple Fire Crow. I just wanted to share, we are always learning, always just having another river to cross. And there's a way to find another way to breathe. So, maybe in the moment you're doing something new, or you can try to figure it out in a different way. Sometimes it becomes cloudy, but don't forget to take a moment to breathe. Just breathe. You're alive. You're worth being here in this world. You're worth it. So just remember that. Just just remember that. And that's all I have.
Beautiful. Thank you. This has been such a vibrant space. I really appreciate it. Thank you to all of our presenters, Rebecca, Sydney, Purple Fire Crow, Kevin. Thank you to our interpreters, Karina and Elijah. Thank you to our wonderful audience. And our presenters would love to be in touch with you. So we will share their contact information in that big follow-up email. Do want to mention that Kevin will be out of pocket for a few weeks. So just give them the space to do some also breathing out in nature. And then we'll send a reminder when everyone is back online so you can be in touch. And we hope that you'll engage in other digital content that we will have throughout the year. We have a virtual engagement hub that will be updated with whatever we have upcoming. We also have now on a recurring basis, our office hours with the Americans for the Arts advocacy team. So the next one is on Friday, May 2nd at 2 p.m. Eastern. And that will give the latest on federal policy, executive orders, any related lawsuits, and other elements pertaining to arts, culture, and humanities. So thank you again, and we hope to share space with you again soon.